The best video game characters. Geez, with how many characters there's been over the years, it leaves a lot of different possible choices. And you know what they always say? Opinions are like favorite video game characters. Everybody's got one. Do you go with a tried and true favorite, or do you go for more of an unknown underdog like Sir Pepper the Third? Quite the ruffian. But if you were to say that a video game character is the best, what does that even mean? What criteria are we going by? The visual design of the character itself, the character's backstory, the character's longevity, popularity according to the masses, or perhaps some sort of combination of all these kinds of things? Well, while all of these could be factors, I think it ultimately just comes down to which character makes a person think, yeah, I like this character. Personally, I find myself prioritizing character design, so sorry, but some of the characters who look like my uncle aren't gonna be winning me over. I mean, nothing against uncles, maybe your uncle is great, but I don't view a character that is designed to look like a pretty typical human being to be very interesting. But baby Mario's uncle, Uncle Ouija, now we're talking. I mean, just imagine in true uncle fashion the kinds of inappropriate things Uncle Ouija says during family dinners. But so many different characters over the course of video game history, if only there was a way to just have them all duke it out. Oh, hey, here we go. Super Smash Brothers. What was once a roster of strictly Nintendo characters has expanded into non-Nintendo properties and has become, in some people's minds, darn near like some sort of video game character hall of fame, plus some Fire Emblem characters. If a character is popular, then you can bet there are people out there who are furious the character isn't in Super Smash Bros. Yet. And even if a character isn't all that popular, there's still somebody out there whose deepest desire is that they were. I mean, just imagine how epic a battle between Sora and Sir Pepper the Third fighting with their keys could be. Too bad licensing and all the legal rigmarole required makes it more difficult to get certain characters added. Otherwise, there would probably be an even more robust roster than there already is. In any case, there are far more characters than what is represented in the game. So here's what I'm thinking, analyzing the merits of every video game character there's ever been. Actually, I was just given a list and it turns out that's not an option. Luckily, I've got a backup plan, which is to just wait, hold on a second, that's my backup plan for most things, but not for this video, which is to talk about some of my favorites, or rather, some of the characters that I feel are notable, while covering some of the factors that can make a certain character somebody's favorite in the process. And when it comes to notable video game characters, Mario and Sonic immediately come to mind. Might seem a bit biased, as their rivalry arguably defined a generation of video game players that I was a part of, but they're both still very much relevant nowadays as well. In fact, I think that's part of what makes them so notable, their longevity. Ms. Pac-Man and Pac-Man say hi! With a character remaining popular for so long, clearly there's something here that fans can wrap their arms around. And in the case of Mario, it may just be a boatload of good games. I think Mario is a perfectly likable character, but I do sometimes think that with how many games he's been in over the years that are so beloved, his character design probably could have been a wide assortment of different things, and he'd still be just as liked. That said, credit should be given where credit is due. The likability of his character is part of what's made it so easy to plug him into all these different scenarios. Sure, playing tennis with Mario has always felt kind of weird, but if you think about it, Mario put into just about any scenario is pretty make-believe, so who cares? I mean, when he's warping through pipes and growing twice his size, that's alright, but playing sports is a little too close to home. What's next? Wearing deodorant and brushing his teeth? Pooping? I think Mario is a good example of how much somebody likes a game inevitably affecting how much they like the character. Quick question for you to test this theory. Name a character you love that's in a game you absolutely hate. A lot of you probably can't name one, at least not off the top of your head, and if you could, it was probably a side character, not the game's main character. I think good games tend to yield better designed characters, and naturally, bad games tend to yield more poorly designed characters. There's a reason your favorite character isn't from Rascal Racers. Ooh, now I've burned my bridges with the Rascal Racers fanbase though. A risk I should be safe to take. It makes sense. If talented designers and developers are working on a game, then they'll likely have talented artists working on character design as well. The team working on Splatoon isn't going to hire me to draw the Inklings, but if they wanted to save money for the next game, I am pretty affordable. With most Mario games, you typically have Nintendo putting some of their best teams on the job. And when it's somebody else, I think whatever team is working on it is thinking, this is a Mario game, better do a good job and not horse around with this. So what are the teams working on Sonic games doing? Well, I think they're trying really hard, but I find Sonic to be so fascinating because while sure, there are fans of every game in the series, there are a lot of disappointed feelings from fans who still remain fans in spite of those feelings. I've always felt the speed inherent to Sonic games presented a huge challenge from a design perspective. And from what I've heard from the developing community, they agree. This is part of what makes the original Genesis games so impressive. Sure, not to everybody, but they're considered to be classics by the masses for a reason. In any case, regardless of people enjoying the game, Sonic was a tremendous marketing success when first introduced. The branding was on point. Sonic was just very likable and cool, and has more or less stayed relevant ever since. I wish I'd been cool enough over the course of my life to cover up my failures. With Sonic games, so many fans continually get their hopes up despite experiencing a lot of disappointment, and I think that speaks to the likability of the character of Sonic himself. It's almost like some sort of strange abusive relationship. Sonic promises to be better the next game. No, he won't. Okay, but now we're going to get into some of my more personal favorites. Not that I don't like Mario and Sonic, because I do. First up, we have Samus from the Metroid series. What's funny is that my first time seeing Samus was actually in Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 64, and I found her incredibly annoying with her grapple beam, but that would certainly change. I had actually missed Super Metroid initially, but would eventually play it along with Metroid Prime and Dread. Really love all these games and find Samus to be a cool character. I like how you see the different suits and upgrades as you're playing through the game, and that can certainly be another factor that goes into why people like the characters that they do. The different powers, upgrades, and abilities that a character has, or perhaps their snack of choice, which are often incorporated into various depictions of their design. People will often clarify that it's a specific version of a character that they like best, like Toon Link perhaps, not to be confused with Toon Zelda. When it comes to my beloved Sparkster, I specifically prefer the Genesis version from Rocket Knight Adventures. I like his chunkier armor, and while they tried to Sonicify him with attitude in the US cover art, in most depictions of him, I like his sillier, less threatening demeanor. What can I say? I'm all about a non-threatening look. Not that I can't be threatening. However, despite Sparkster's non-threatening demeanor, he does still have a rocket pack and a sword, some pretty serious equipment, and, in my opinion, a perfect combination for a video game character's arsenal. Plus, it's a possum, thought by many to be a pretty unlikable creature. From what I understand, the design of the character is thought to be inspired, at least partially, from the brush-tail possum, spelled without an O at the beginning. Little cutie patooties, I'd say, especially compared to yikes. And yet the game's packaging spells it with an O, and he has a tail similar to those kinds of possums. Yet, has ears more like the cute brush-tail possums have? Hopefully somebody can shed some light on this in the comments. Come on, somebody, this is important to me. But in any case, I find the character's design to have some pretty fun inspiration. And of course, I'm a big fan of the game itself. You know, when I first decided to cover this topic, I actually wasn't sure what my answer was. And to be honest, I'm still not sure if I'm sure or not. I just find myself leaning towards Sparkster by default. But with that said, I would of course be curious what your favorite character is. I hope you enjoyed my insight on the topic. Something I realized when I started doing it is that there's just no way to cover this in a comprehensive manner. There's way too many characters, and picking what's best is just too darn subjective. So if you have a favorite character, don't be mad I didn't mention them. Look, this is me right now cheering for your favorite character. I don't even know who they are, but I back you up on it because video games are awesome and I appreciate your passion for your answer. I'm also sort of curious how many of you are like me where you're not exactly sure what your answer is. There's just so many choices. In any case, share your thoughts down below and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah, and he's talking about video games. He's the retro bird, oh yes, and he hopes that you like